What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be going over several tips for my Stormclaw Druid here in Season 3. Now before we get started, there was a viewer named Tiago Guedes that brought something to my attention from my previous Lightning Storm video. So in that video, I spoke about how to properly cast Lightning Storm, and that the proper way to do it was instead of actually holding the button down to channel the skill, the best thing you could do was actually tap the button rapidly to cast the skill over and over again. However, I should have added more information to that section of the video. So for bossing, it's perfectly fine to rapidly tap the Lightning Storm skill right when you start off the fight. However, for dungeons and vaults, it's always best to go ahead and channel your Lightning Storm for a few seconds. That way you can build up a massive Lightning Storm and then start rapidly tapping the Lightning Storm skill. I do want to apologize to you guys if I caused any confusion with that oversight, and I will be more mindful in the future to make sure I incorporate all the information necessary in a video so that way you guys can be as successful as you can be here in Diablo 4. And a big thank you to Tiago Guedes for pointing that out, and I really do appreciate all the feedback you guys leave in my comments section. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the Stormclaw build here, and the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is elixirs. So for both the Lightning Storm build video as well as my Stormclaw build video, all of the gameplay footage that was shot for the beginning portion of those videos, I was using no elixir or instant whatsoever, so that way you guys would have a better understanding of the damage that these builds can actually do. However, elixirs are a very important part of Diablo 4, and some of these elixirs are incredibly powerful. So I did want to go ahead and go over a few elixirs that I like to run with both of those builds. And we're going to start off here with my favorite one, and that is the Elixir of Cruelty, and that's because it gives you a massive 15% critical strike chance when you use this elixir, and it really helps boost your damage by a significant margin. The next one we'll talk about is the Elixir of Savagery, and this one's pretty good because it gives you a 25% increase to your critical strike damage. After that, there is the Elixir of Combatant Fortune, and this one's really great because it gives you a massive 20% lucky hit chance. And this one's probably my second favorite elixir to run because you really do feel that big increase to your lucky hit when you use this elixir. Now I want to talk about two really great elixirs that you can craft at the Alchemist. So the first one is the Heady Assault Elixir, and this one's really good because it gives you that 20% increased attack speed, which is basically almost like having Bestial Rampage. So if you're one of those players who wants to attack a little bit faster, I definitely would recommend running this elixir through the content. Now for the second potion, we're going to be looking at the Heady Precision Elixir. And this one's really good because it gives you a little bit of critical strike chance, but gives you a bigger bonus to your critical strike damage than the Savagery Elixir does. So just be on the lookout for some of those elixirs when you're farming your Hell Tides or crafting elixirs at the Alchemist. The next thing I wanted to go over is barrier and how to calculate your barrier if you're playing on a console. So one of the most important stats for boosting up your barrier in Diablo 4 is the stat called Barrier Generation that you can see there on the Royal Diamonds when you socket it in your armor. Now what Barrier Generation does is basically just give you a bigger barrier. And you can also get this affix roll on some of your gear pieces as well as some of your jewelry pieces. Now I did want to mention that where it is good to buff up your barrier as much as you can, your barrier cannot exceed your maximum life. So just to give you guys an example, my current life pool is 15,438. When I cast my barrier, you'll see that my barrier is 5,014. Now I could get that barrier up as much as I wanted to, and it's even possible to exceed the maximum amount of health that I currently have. However, your barrier will be capped at your current maximum life. So no matter how much barrier generation I put on my build or how many ranks to Earthen Bulwark I get, I will always be capped by my maximum life pool. Now let's talk about how you would calculate barrier if you're playing on a console. So for PC players, it's super easy to know how much barrier you have because all you have to do is cast the skill and then hover over it with your mouse. However, for console players, it's not actually possible for us to hover over our health pool because we're using controllers. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to your Earthen Bulwark skill and look at the base amount of barrier that skill provides, which in my case is 5,014 barrier. The next thing you're going to want to do is go to your stat sheet and look at your barrier bonus, which is also known as barrier generation, and in my case that is currently 5%, which I'm getting from the diamond on my helmet. Then from there it's just some basic math, so let's go ahead and go over it real quick. So you can see here we have a simple math equation. We have 1.05 times 5,014 equals 5,264.7. So let's break this down step by step. So first notice this 105% value here. And what that is the combination of our base barrier value with our barrier generation as a percentage. So if you remember, we had 5% bonus barrier, which gives us 105%. Then we're going to turn this percentage into a decimal. And what we get is 1, which represents our base barrier value here, 0.05, which represents our barrier generation as a decimal. Then we're going to multiply that by 5014, which is our base barrier value that our earthen bulwark provides. And when we do that, we get 5,264.7 total barrier, and then we're going to round that 7 up to the nearest whole number for a total of 5,265. So let's go over that just one more time really quick. So we're going to take our base barrier value here, represented by 100%. Then we're going to add our barrier generation value, which was 5%, to that, giving us 105%. Then we're going to turn this into a decimal, giving us 1.05. Then we're going to multiply that by our base barrier value, 5014, or whatever that value is for you. And that will give you your total barrier, and then just round up that decimal to the nearest whole number. Now, you don't really need to convert your base barrier value to a percentage if you don't want to. Just remember that your base barrier value will always equal 1 in this equation, and then you'll have to turn your percentage barrier generation into a decimal, and then multiply that out just like I've done here in Paint. So let's go ahead and check my math to make sure I'm correct. Now, as you can see, we have 5,265 barrier. Now let's go over my bossing rotation with the Stormclaw build. So much like my Lightning Storm video, I like to cast Ravens before the boss spawns in. Then I'll go ahead and pop my Earthen Bulwark, Hurricane, and Howl, followed by my Petrified Ultimate, and burn the boss down as fast as possible. And it looks a little something like this. So as you can see there, we burned down that trading dummy pretty fast, even without any elixir. Now for the next section of the video, we're going to be doing a vault, and I'm going to explain my vault rotation for you guys, so that way you guys can be as ready as you can be for those high tier nightmare vault runs. So for our vault rotation, when I'm tackling a big pack of elites, what I like to do is cast my Hurricane and Earthen Bulwark before I engage with the elite pack. Then I will pop my Petrify Ultimate to proc the Inexorable Will Ring to pull everything together over the top of my Druid. Then right after that, I will cast my Debilitating Roar to get that massive damage reduction on the enemies. I'll follow that up with a cast of Poison Creeper and then a dash through the enemy pack to cool down my Petrify. And then from there, I will spam Claw as well as my potion to make sure I keep my health up high while I'm burning down the elite pack. So let's go ahead and go over a couple of these rotations in a tier 100 Nightmare Vault of Copper. So as you guys can see there, we have a ton of damage and we clear out those elite packs really fast, even though we're not even running an elixir there. Also, I just want to note, be mindful of the second pull from the Inexorable Will Ring. There are times where you can use that second pull to your advantage, but there are also times where that second pull can actually put you at a disadvantage. So just be careful so that way you don't get caught off guard. But anyway, guys, I hope this video brings some clarity as to how to run this build through content. However, if you do have any questions, guys, go ahead and post them down in the comments section. And you can also stop by my streams anytime and ask your questions there. Now, a link to this build as well as all of my Lightning Storm builds will be posted down in the description of this video. And I am working working on another build for you guys, which should be coming out pretty soon. But as always, I hope you guys are having a great day or a great night, depending on wherever you're from, and peace out, guys. I will see you in the next one.